You've seen Steve Coles on Monster Quest. Now see him on After Hours.
As seen on TV.
Welcome to After Hours. My name is Rictor. I am your host.
Rictor!
What?
Leave him alone!
It's Judgment Day for Sasquatch.
Thanks for dropping me like a stud.
Now we got Rictor going. We're going to have to hear about it all night. That's a bunch of screaming memes out there, and that's the scoop that has been reported so far.
By your opinion that you are no-kill, you are dooming the species to be extinct.
Well, when you don't believe in Bigfoot, everything you see that might be one is something else.
We thought that we had the holy grail of DNA.
When are we going to make a video, Rictor? And I mean not an X-rated one.
Dr. Todd, you've also been called the scoff dick.
Yeah, well...
You can't talk about
I can't!
Hello? Is this thing on? Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Hey, Rictor, I've got a question for you. How does it feel to lose Bigfoot bounty?
My question is, why do you think Bigfoot is real?
In light of the recent Todd Standing controversy that has taken our Bigfoot community by storm, and our absolutely informed opinion that the guy's a hoaxer, my investigative reporter, Steve Alcorn, suggested that we bring on the Squatchdetetctive, Steve Coles, on our webcast tonight. And not only do we talk about the ongoing debate of Todd Standing recruiting our respected Bigfoot elders like Dr. John Bindernagel and Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, but we also get a much-needed history lesson on the repetitive cycle of these hoaxers and how they're money-hungry and how they're able to get the attention of our national media, let alone shit-stain our Bigfoot community. Hey, wait a minute. Forget about the Bigfoot community. Let me show you just how much of an impact these jokers have on pop culture.
Two guys say they will show the world Bigfoot's body today.
They say they found Sasquatch in an undisclosed location in North Georgia. They claim they're going to have a press conference tomorrow. I don't think CNN's going to cover it live, though.
Although it's tough to make out, an Edmonton man believes this shadowy creature he captured on video is the mythical Bigfoot.
Nearly a year ago, we introduced you to a man who claimed to have shot and killed Bigfoot in San Antonio.
Todd Standing will be on our show in just a bit with his actual video of Bigfoot.
Dyer tells me he plans to have a news conference in the coming days where he will show the full body and reveal all the test results. Personally, I'm still skeptical.
Bigfoot, it turns out, is real.
Oh, well, I didn't believe in him when I started the study. I had no idea that I would find anything novel at all.
Tom Biscardi, known as the Bigfoot Hunter, claiming, look at this, here it is, that he has found the body that will confirm with scientific proof that Bigfoot does exist.
This is raw footage, it's the real deal.
Tom says he's passionate about Bigfoot because he has had sightings himself.
This circus began with Ray Wallace in 1958 with his bogus Bigfoot footprints. Then there was those bogus Bigfoot photographs by Ivan Marks, who mentored Tom Biscardi. Now right there, you'd think that was the holy trinity of the Bigfoot hoaxers. Oh, but wait, there's more. Rick Dyer, Matt Whitten, and Todd Standing. Now we here at After Hours with Rictor like to have fun while discussing our favorite cryptid. But it's time we take a serious look at those that take advantage of the Bigfoot community and our general public. Hoaxers suck, but I suck harder.
Bigfoot, Game of Thrones, The Three Kings. What exactly am I talking about? Well, first, there was Ray Wallace in 1958 who fabricated Bigfoot tracks. Then there was Ivan Marks. Then came the Godfather, Tom Biscardi. Now, joining After Hours with Rictor tonight is the Squatch detective himself, Steve Kulls. Now, I thought it'd be great to bring Steve on because he's been very, very good at blowing the lid off of hoaxers, especially with Rick Dyer, and now the more recent one, Todd Standing. Welcome, Steve Kulls.
Hey, what's up, gang? How y'all doing?
Now, Steve, tell the audience how they can see you, hear you, view you, touch you, feel you.
I'd like to know that last part, wouldn't you, Rick?
That sounds like a Biscardi infomercial in 2008. Now, you can check me all out at Squatchdetective.com, Squatchdetectiveradio.com. My blog can be accessed off my website. It's squatchdetective.wordpress.com. And I've actually have 2 books. My first book about hoaxes was 50 Large. It's basically about the 2008 hoax between Biscardi and Rick Dyer. The second book I wrote was What Would Sasquatch Do? It's all about Bigfoot behavior and primate behavior and how it relates and how they're interchangeable and how they're very much alike, and kind of points to some very interesting theories that make a lot of sense.
Right on. Steve, I want to introduce you to my co-host. I have the lovely Tammy Murray, who makes the Bigfoot glass pendants that you see on her neck.
That's right.
Yes, I don't know if you can see it, but there is one here. And I was thinking that if you're really a nice guy and a good guest, that I would send you a complimentary Bigfoot pendant.
Oh, cool! Love it. I'll try to be a good. I'll try to be a good guest.
Okay, yeah, just mind your P's and Q's.
Well, it's the P's I don't worry about. It's always the Q's that mess me up.
Well, it's nice to meet you finally. I've been a fan of your website, your blog, your radio show for a long time.
Same here, and it's good to put a face with the name.
And last but not least is our Team Tazer investigative reporter, Steve Alcorn.
What's up, Rictor, Tammy? Nice to see you again, Steve.
Hey, what's up there, Mr. Alcorn?
Okay, Steve, like me, you too have been on television, albeit on a few more shows. So tell us about the shows you've been on.
I was on Monster Quest in 2008, Bigfoot New York episode.
Steve Kulls is a member of NESRA. With many years of field experience behind him and an intimate knowledge of this area, he will lead one of the teams.
Team from NESRA setting up for expedition. We're going to be camped 50 yards due east of here. There's going to be teams going out at night, patrolling. We're going to be here for the next few days, and hopefully we'll get some action. We're going. We're going to flush this right out of here.
I have been on The Truth Behind the Loch Ness Monster, which was a Nat Geo special.
Steve Kulls has spent the last 12 years searching for evidence of the legendary Sasquatch. He's come to Scotland to investigate the existence of the infamous Loch Ness Monster.
I have been on the,
Loch Ness Monster, for real? Okay, all right. I believe Bigfoot's real, but not the Loch Ness, sorry.
I agree.
My grandmother came from there, and she told me that.
I agree with you.
Yes, yes.
They asked me to do a show. I went over to investigate.
Yeah, it's good for tourism. It's good for money. It's all about the almighty dollar, Tammy.
Yep.
Loch Ness Detective doesn't sound as good as Squatch Detective.
I was on America's Book of Secrets.
Kulls used to be a skeptic, but now dedicates his skill as a private investigator to try and prove to the world that Sasquatch exists.
I really went into this believing that this was going to be a complete flub. And then when I started interviewing the witnesses, I could see physical body reactions happening that as a trained interviewer, I knew meant they were telling the truth. They had seen something. I mean, when people's jugular veins distend, they get goosebumps, they get short of breath, you can see they actually encountered something they believe is real.
And I was on Paranatural, Sasquatch and Agent episode.
As an investigator, I prove things in a court of law. I've got eyewitnesses. I've got circumstantial evidence, all put together, given that we could probably prove a Sasquatch exists in a court of law.
Okay, Squatch Detective, those clips from all your TV shows are really cool. But Loch Ness Monster? Oh, come on, dude.
Yep.
Well, listen, the way I look at it is I did Loch Ness because, hey, at the end of the day, we explore different cryptids all the time.
Right.
So, if somebody calls me up with a chupacabra sighting or a panther sighting, am I going to turn them away? Of course not. So when the call came and said, hey, we'd like you to basically come over to Loch Ness and do that, I did.
Yeah, I mean, who would?
I wasn't too impressed what I found out. In fact, I actually debunked something while I was over there, but they chose not to use my debunking. They used a scientist's debunking, which was completely wrong, by the way. Completely wrong, which is kind of hysterical because I actually repeated the dude's photograph. And it was sunlight hitting off a house that had copper flashing on it that was reflecting into the loch. This guy takes some pictures on his iPhone, says, oh, I got the Loch Ness Monster. I took it when I was sitting in the kitchen, talking with the chef, saying, oh, look, there it is. Boom, took some pictures of it. Yeah, it's a reflection off the house. The scientist they chose to go with, and the reason why they chose him is he's got a doctor in front of his name, said he thinks it's a bunch of boats tied up. Well, that's funny. I didn't see any boats tied up there throughout my 9 days there, but I did get a good reflection that pretty much duplicated the picture. So you tell me what you think is the correct one.
So back on the subject, Ivan Marks was creating Bigfoot hoax photographs. It is known that he was Tom Biscardi's mentor, and Tom Biscardi for quite a few years took the torch and went running. He got in trouble with supposedly charging people $14 for a webcam Bigfoot service up in Happy Camp, where Coast to Coast AM George Nuri spanked him for it.
Basically, Biscardi had come on Coast to Coast stating that, he had this thing going on at Happy Camp. He's going to put a pay-per-view service on there, and he feels like that he's really close. A capture is imminent. Well, about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he comes up with this story that there was indeed one that was captured in Stagecoach, Nevada, and his plan was to take the cameras he had in Happy Camp and move them onto the creature that was captured.
Okay.
And, he was making statements like, well, our scientists that we have looking at it say it's a male, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. Well, it turns out the whole story was a crock of baloney. And during that time that he had appeared on Coast to Coast and said about this live capture that supposedly was there, he had a great amount of subscribers subscribed to his service because of that, expecting to see a live Bigfoot. So when it came out that the story was all baloney, that's when Nori jumped on him about having, it wasn't because he had the service, it was because he had the service and then said he had one captured, and then all of a sudden it's a no game. It's a no game. And this actually is very close to the way he played it in 2008, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but you'll see the parallels.
Well, George Nuri said it best by that it's the same with the UFO craze. The hoaxers spoil it for everyone.
It makes getting to the real truth a lot harder, and it also makes it very hard for us when we come up with something that's real to show it to the public because they're so used to these bullshit. Pardon the French.
Well, here's the thing. It's about the public. It's not about the Bigfoot community or the Bigfoot fans or enthusiasts. It's about the general public. It's about money. It's about making money off of your product. And just like Todd Standing, you too can buy the DVD at Tom Biscardi's internet store, and he's got multiple DVDs. Unlike Todd Standing with the mug and the t-shirt and the calendar, you can buy the belt buckle, the lapel pin, the Bigfoot welcome mat. Really? I mean, that's what the real Bigfoot hunter, quote unquote, is doing, selling Bigfoot product? Where's the evidence? There's no evidence. You're not giving us anything. You're just selling items to your fans and appealing to the general public. And let's talk about how back in 2008, Biscardi really didn't have any competition, did he? It was pretty much just him for the most part. And then two Georgia boys entered the scene by saying that they found a Bigfoot body in the woods of northern Georgia and they put it in a freezer. And this is where Steve Coles comes on, because you introduced us to Rick Dyer and his buddy Matt Whitten on your Squatch Detective show. What the fuck?
Well, that's one of the common misnomers. I had actually read about Dyer and Whitten on Cryptomundo. There were several posts about them. I really wasn't even paying much mind at the time. I remember one particular post by Lauren Coleman who actually compared Dyer to a Nazi, which kind of I was like, what? What the hell is this? So I looked into it. I issued them a challenge. I issued Dyer to come on my radio show and back up what he's got to say. And he did. He on the 11th hour, he decided to call me and say, yeah, I'll come on. And everything he told me that night on that radio show was bullshit.
Uh-oh. Okay, wait. Since then, Mr. Coles, you have been a thorn in his side.
Oh, I've been a suppository in his right where it counts.
And not in a good way either.
No, and that's a good thing because in myself, but I'm not doing it alone. There's several others that have gotten really under his skin, even worse than I have.
Oh yeah, so we're going to talk about that later. So you're telling us that it was Lauren Coleman that introduced Rick Dyer to the online Bigfoot community.
Yeah, my show was on July 25th, 2008, or July 24, 2008. You go back and look, I think the articles that Coleman started with on Dyer was right around July 4th or 5th or 6th when they claimed they had a body. It started right around there.
Doesn't it, Mr. Coles, doesn't it suck coming late to dinner?
You know, I'm the guy who shows up late to the party, but I bring the party favors.
Hey, we're all about that here at After Hours.
You know, a lot of people think that, that Dyer was the first one to say he had shot a Bigfoot body. You know, we go back until we have Bugs Hale. I forget his first name, but his last name was Hale. He went by the name of Bugs. He was on Coast to Coast claiming to have shot a Bigfoot. Turns out he was a wackadoo. We have, of course, we have Frank Riolo, who was the first person really to claim to have shot a Bigfoot body. I believe the year was 1965. And, at the time he had approached Roger Patterson and Renee DeHinden, who had been out researching together for quite a long time. And he had approached them and stated he had shot one and he had the body hidden and that he would take him. And then there was a little competition between Renee DeHinden and Roger Patterson, and that caused kind of a rift between the two for a long time. So, and they believed this guy Riolo for quite some time until finally it all unraveled, which these hoaxes always do. So, understanding that, that we had Roger Patterson, Renee DeHinden, Grover Krantz, even Peter Byrne had hired Ivan Marks. We have, we all run into these types of people.
Steve, we have been avoiding talking about Rick Dyer for the past 2 years since we started this Bigfoot webcast because Rick Dyer has affected me personally.
Yep.
And I do not believe in promoting hoaxers. There's no such thing as bad publicity. However, there comes a time when you have to address bad behavior because it's affected you in one way or another. And if you keep turning the blind eye, you are allowing it to happen. Right, Tammy?
Yes.
I wrote a blog today, and one of the things I compared, and we can talk about this in a little bit too, but I had made a comment that here's the story of two hoaxers. Here's Rick Dyer on one hand, here's Todd Standing on the other. Now, Todd Standing had been bashed and beaten and bloodied up in 2010, and I pretty much ignored him, and everybody ignored him. Here's Rick Dyer. Every time he opened his mouth, somebody was there to put a shoe in his mouth. And where are we today? Well, Dyer is obviously in dire straits, back home in Georgia, selling the RV, selling the trailer. Where's Todd Standing? Because we've ignored him for 4 years. Where is he? He's appearing on a show with Les Stroud.
And he somehow coerced Dr. Meldrum and Dr. Bindernagel under his
team. So tell me how ignoring them works
to
our advantage. It works to their advantage.
Bigfoot runs in cycles. Rick Dyer runs in cycles, 2008, 2012.
Commonality amongst all hoaxers. They crash and burn, and then they come back to resurrect themselves. Why? Because they all have sociopathic tendencies.
And Steve Alcorn pointed out that they use a common term when discussing people that have a different opinion.
Haters.
Haters.
That's
Yep.
exactly it. Haters.
First way you can tell that somebody's hoaxing is everybody who doesn't believe their evidence is a hater.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, Tom Biscardi came onto the Bigfoot scene a year before I was born. Rick Dyer came onto the scene in 2008. Todd Standing came onto the scene, what year, 2004?
Well, actually, 2004 was when the website was created. His website, however, remained blank until 2005.
And was that the IMDb posting creation of...
I'm not quite sure, but it looked like when he first came on in 2005, he was angling towards making a movie. He had put out an ad for casting. He had done Sylvanic Video 1, which has completely disappeared. The only way to see Sylvanic 1 now is to go to my website, The Hall of Shame, under Sylvanic. And you'll see Sylvanic 1, which is basically his sister, Louise Standing, holding a camera, a video camera, going, "What do we have here?"
Horrible.
Is this the one with the snow on the trees falling?
Exactly. Exactly. That has disappeared. Why does he always talk about Sylvanic 2, 3, 4, 5? Never talks about Sylvanic 1, because Sylvanic 1 was such a clear and obvious hoax. Between Dave Rodriguez finding the Edmonton article where he's looking for actors and matching up his web registration phone number with the ad that was in the paper looking for actors and actresses. He was building up a storyline. 4 people enter the woods in the mysterious Sylvanic, which never exists on any geographical map. There's no historical reference to it. And boom. Have we forgotten that Sylvanic was just a made-up term to begin with? Now, of course, we're trying to avoid that, and we're calling it Bigfoot North.
But doesn't he say Sylvanic is a First Nation term?
No, it's not. Sylvanic is a Latin term meaning forest, and his mother's name is Sylvia. So you take it from me that there's something more to it than Sylvanic actually being an actual property.
Well, I talked to a First Nations person from that area, and I am assuring you that there is no such First Nations term as Sylvanic.
There you go.
It doesn't exist.
Wow, we're haters because we're questioning.
Do you think that Todd Standing doesn't seem to be such a harmful presence as far as hoaxers go, because he's not so in your face like Rick Dyer is? He doesn't have the used car salesman personality. You know, he's appealing to people, the general public, not the Bigfoot community, although there is a certain faction in the Bigfoot community that, you know, eat this shit up. But he just seems to be more appealing, and he's, even though it's taken him a longer amount of time to get the popularity that he's got now, he's really coming on strong here lately. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think I said the other day to somebody, I don't know if it was somewhere on one of the social networks, but I said, you know, Todd Standing, if you look at him, if you take his evidence that he's put out there, all these stupid pictures and these videos, you take them and put them aside and you just listen to hear him talk. He's got some good ideas. He's very knowledgeable on the topic, and he's looking to protect the species. And I really think that out of everything, I don't think it was a jumping board or a platform to really necessarily make a lot of money, I think, because if you look at it, his videos are not very expensive. He was showing them at little theaters and little venues, but his whole goal was to get protection for the species. Now, I don't know if there's just something in him that just wants to do something good and put his name to something, or he wants to protect the species, which I really think is why he was doing all this. Now I'm not so sure if there's a money involvement in it or what, but on the whole of it, that's why he is so different than, say, a Biscardi or a Dyer. He's more likable. He's more factual. He sounds more knowledgeable. You know, a lot of hoaxers are pretty knowledgeable, but if you look at what we've had to deal with between the three amigos here of Dyer, Standing, and Biscardi, you know, hands down, you know, Standing is the most knowledgeable.
Well, he's the closest thing to being a real Bigfoot researcher out of the three.
But you know what? Here's the question. What have we seen that he's actually done in research? If you look at all three of these people, Biscardi, Standing, and what's his name?
Dyer.
Yeah. I mean, we see very little of Rick Dyer ever doing any Bigfoot research. We've seen actually very little of Todd Standing doing any Bigfoot research. How many failed videos? How many videos have we had him just out in the woods saying, oh, we're out here and this is going on and that's going on? How many pictures have we seen? None. The only person that's been out there really doing Bigfoot research, and it's about a few days here at a time, a few days there at a time, is Biscardi. When his team thinks there may be some press coming, Biscardi shows up.
The legendary team.
Oh, the infamous, legendary, super over-the-top team. You know, it kind of reminds me of No Country for Old Men. You know, I don't know if any of you saw Shooting Bigfoot. It was priceless.
Get me a Snapple.
I have refused to watch that documentary.
You have to watch it, Rictor.
I can't. Because that man came to my work and told the hostess, tell Rictor I'm coming back for him.
You know what? The funniest thing was you see how inept and clumsy Rick Dyer is out in the field. Number one, he trips over his own feet twice. And number two is he's out there and he's out of sight and he's going like this because he's so out of breath.
It was clear to me that Rick Dyer has never really been in the woods after watching Shooting Bigfoot. And it was also clear to me that he doesn't know how to handle a firearm.
Oh, that pisses me off.
I wonder.
But it wasn't. I have to give Morgan Matthews props. It was a very entertaining movie to watch, and I think it showed Biscardi and Dallas and Wayne and Rick Dyer the way they really are. To be honest,
I am so pissed off of myself because we had a team meeting for my field team, the officers of my team, and I had my team operations manager and my assistant director at my house a few weeks ago, and we had put Shooting Bigfoot on to watch it for entertainment afterward because it is just so funny. And I wish I had recorded everybody's reactions because we were on the floor half the night watching this. And we didn't even have to drink to find it funny.
You probably had a few Snapples though.
That was the night, if anybody looks at my Facebook page, that was the night I had a picture of myself with a big jug of Snapple. So, yes, we had Snapple.
The picture that Rictor thought you looked a little sick, a little peaked in and stuff.
Yeah, your coloring is a little off. Biscardi and Dyer, the Biscardi and Dyer alliance has continued. Apparently, it's live and well in this documentary.
Well, I don't think it's an alliance at all. They hate each other.
Then why were they together in this documentary?
They weren't really. When Biscardi hears that Morgan Matthews has talked to Dyer and Witten, because that's how long this span. It started in 2009. It ended in 2011. So that's the other funny thing. Dyer was never with Matthews in 2012. Maybe just for a brief photo shoot, that was it. But the actual expedition that he was on in San Antonio was in 2011. But anyway, the minute Biscardi finds out that he talked to Witten and Dyer, Biscardi stumbles and mumbles and ends up storming out. And that's when he comes out with the infamous line, "Joan, get me a Snapple." That's when that line happens. He walks away, "Stop shooting. I don't want to talk right now."
He was not happy that Matthews had talked to Dyer and Witten. Not in that movie, anyhow. And I'm betting to this day he's not happy about it.
No. In fact, we kind of Chris Bennett, my co-host on my radio show, actually calls it, the movie should have been called Shooting Biscardi, because out of all three of them, he makes Biscardi look the worst. Which really is a good thing, but he's only touched the tip of the iceberg, because a lot of folks think that Biscardi is all about putting on Bigfoot hoaxes, and that's his shtick. It's really not. Biscardi's main goal, and it's in my book, is he is actually building a front company, an entertainment company, to put out videos and stuff, but that's a front because he wants to create museums, according to him. But in 12 years of doing this, and actually from the period of 2006 to 2008, when I was on the inside there with Biscardi, I had actually collected documents where he had received almost $450,000 to put up museums, but he had never put up one museum. So
he's a con man.
You got to figure that one out for yourself. But because he hasn't been charged and nobody has charged him with that. But I don't know, and he's probably gotten some more money down the road as well from museums, because remember the last museum we heard was he was going to put a museum in Las Vegas, the Bigfoot Shops and Props, in one of the casinos. That never happened. How about the casino? How about not a casino, but a museum? How about the museum he was going to put at the Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco? That place was vacant. It was for rent. Why didn't that happen? He had the money. He had gotten $400,000 at that point. Not there. How about the one on the Apache Reservation? How about the one he was trying to snooker the Blackfeet Reservation with? How about the one that he was going to open now in Sacramento, California? None of these, not one single one, despite there have been drawings on them, and he did some minor work. And who was designing them? Well, the person designing them was Bill Lett, the investor that gave him the $50,000 to give to Dyer for the body. So, he was getting that work for free too. So my question is, other than some airfare here and there, where'd that money go?
What the hell?
That was good timing.
That was my daughter coming. Oh wait, I don't have a daughter. Never mind.
So you're saying, okay? So back on the subject, Dyer and Biscardi are no longer buddies.
No, never. You know what happened is their original plan was to do a phony alien autopsy, like they said in the Shooting Bigfoot movie. That's exactly what I was told. And the funny thing is that correlates with what Biscardi had told me when he was trying to tell me this thing was really saying, well, next week I'm having the people who did the Fox special on the alien autopsy, they're coming over to video it. Dyer never knew he said that to me, but then Dyer, in 2009, when I finally got on his case and asked him, he said, well, Biscardi wanted to do a fake alien autopsy video. Now you see, this kind of fits with the 2005 webcam captured Bigfoot Stagecoach Nevada hoax, because the whole idea is you're going to get caught on it. The whole idea is to make money quick. So you get all these subscriptions for $15, boom, boom, boom. Okay, now it turns out to be fake, but in the short term you have all this money. Okay, the same thing with this Bigfoot autopsy video. If he had gotten away with it, would be, okay, there it is, we'll sell it, we'll make a couple of $1 million on it, boom. Now, okay, so it's fake, big deal. We got the $2 million.
So these guys are all about the get-rich-quick scheme.
I don't think so. You got to understand, Rick Dyer has a lot of psychological issues, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Well,
but
is that
Biscardi's thing is all about the money. That's Biscardi. It's money, money, money.
So it's cash flow. It's not get rich. It's just cash flow.
No, it's about get rich.
Okay.
And I'll explain to you why.
Okay, so these guys.
Money, money, money.
Bring it close to the camera. Close to the camera. Closer, closer, closer. That's it. There you go.
$100 bills.
All right.
But,
Steve. Okay, so these two gentlemen had a dissolvement. Egos are in the way, apparently, just like in Bigfooting. Everybody seems to have some kind of a major ego. It's never about Bigfoot. It's always about their ego, or it's about the person, or it's about making the money. So there's a lot of competition out there right now, Steve Coles. You've got Justin Smea. He's an alleged hoaxer. And you have Todd Standing. Of course, we talked about that. You have Michael Merchant, who we believe to be an alleged hoaxer. There's a lot going on, but you had a theory. You only target the ones that are consistent on a regular basis.
That's right. And, Todd Standing is consistent, Rick Dyer's consistent, Tom Biscardi's consistent. There's a woman out in Oregon by the name of Linda Newton Perry who runs a blog by the name of Bigfoot Ballyhoo, who claims to be like, she's a whack. But she runs a website, and we've completely destroyed her stories. But she continues to go on like they're still real. And it's kind of funny how these people live in their own little fantasy world. Much like Dyer. Dyer, I mean, is a liar on so many different levels. Linda Newton-Perry, the same thing. Linda Newton-Perry, once in a while, I'll write about her, and she'll say, you need to test, stop talking to me and calling me a liar and take that down. I'm like, no, you haven't proven a single thing you've said. You know, she's the one who said that Oregon was taking away people's driver's licenses if they reported Bigfoot sightings, and how she had an instrumental part in stopping that. You know, I was working with, back in 2010, I was working with Autumn Williams a lot about debunking a lot of her stuff. Linda was telling all these great stories and had this so-called ESP team, and that stood for Emery, Saxton, and Parchell. And, you know, she had pictures of these guys. Well, we had found the actual people who these pictures were of, which is amazing in itself because they weren't from Oregon, they were from Texas. And we had actually sent somebody in Texas to meet one of the guys. And we got their names. And still she insists, oh, that's not them. What do you mean it's not them? Look! So
a lot of these Bigfooters, they create their own worlds, Mr. Coles. You know that.
Well, that's the problem. Now, you got to understand, a lot of hoaxers, a few years back in 2010, there was the Mr. Mike saga, which had gotten picked up by this kind of internet radio show host. I forget his name, but he had the guy on, and they talked, and we had taken clips of that interview, and we had kind of dissected it and kind of said it doesn't make sense. Some of the things are conflicting. So this radio internet host has somebody go there, and the guy ends up, he's living in the middle of this town, so it was completely impossible, and he was seeing these things, and nobody else was seeing them. So it was very clear that the guy was kind of mentally ill. What it is that there is some kind of, with hoaxers and the people who want to see Bigfoot in every picture, there's a little bit of sociopathy going on there, or there's a little something psychiatric going on there. There's something missing. They're missing either excitement, companionship, or something. In Dyer's case, it's sociopathy. He's a narcissistic, arrogant person who is a chronic liar, and the reason why he's a sociopath is because he's not. People say, oh, well, he is a habitual liar. No, he's a sociopath. A habitual liar lies about everything for no purpose at all. Oh, look at that pretty brown sky out there. You know, they don't have any rhyme or reason. Whereas a sociopath will lie to build up a story, to build up a reason, to put a story behind it.
And it doesn't matter to him who he hurts along the way.
Exactly. And even little things like him being married. Lily Dyer never existed. There is no Lily Dyer, his wife. That's his girlfriend. His girlfriend's name was Rosa. Okay? And we know this because we have a copy of the birth certificate of his daughter. And the funny thing is if you look up his address in Vegas, it comes back to Rosa's name.
Okay.
Not Lily Dyer.
I have to ask this question, Devil's Advocate. Going after a child's birth certificate, is that going too far?
We didn't go after his birth certificate. You see, that's where people get things mixed up. What I found was a photo bucket account of his. And in that photo bucket account was all these different things.
Including a copy of this child's birth certificate.
Right. Now, did we post that birth certificate? Absolutely not. But we did find out who the rightful mother is, and this just leads to more of his deceptions. You see, there's a lot going on. The only thing we ever released was the real name of his wife.
Because it's very upsetting for me.
Sure.
Things go a little too far. Him coming to my work, Sharon Lee telling him what my shift was, what hours I worked, what days off I had. You know, you don't do that. You don't want to cause someone harm. She sent him to beat me up, to confront me. Steve Alcorn, you saw the transcript. Am I not correct?
I was there when it happened. Yeah, it did happen, and he did show up. He posted a photo on his Facebook page.
Right. And he told the hostess, tell Rictor I'll be coming back for him. You know, it's just what he did with Sean Evidence and his family, and the pain that caused Sean's wife, and the fear that they had with their kids, posting photos of Sean's parents' house. Where do you draw the line? Finding photos of Rick Dyer's kids' daughter's birth certificate, or Randy Flipovic telling me about knowing about the eviction notice on Rick Dyer's house. It seems like there's boundaries that are being crossed on both parties. The people that are pointing the finger and the people that are creating the hoaxes. Where does it stop? There's no gentleman here.
Well, where does it stop? Now, let me just be clear on that. I think this may be the first time I've ever said that we ever found this child's birth certificate. I don't think I ever revealed that we had his birth certificate, the birth certificate. And like I said, it was found completely as a fluke. And what it is basically as a you have to understand when you're an investigator and a criminal investigator, which I've been, you look at all aspects of somebody's lives. You have to turn it up. You have to turn it inside out. You have to X-ray it, okay? Because then you get motives and what's really going on. Now,
aren't you scared that the same kind of treatment can be given to you? I mean, we all have skeletons in our closet. You know, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, public records one thing. The arrest records that Rick Dyer has, okay, fine. Present that. That's public knowledge. But
here's the thing, Rictor. I don't lie. I don't lie. I don't lie about anything. I don't lie about the aspect of my life. Okay? I'm a very public person. You've got to face my...
Oh, yeah, and also in your defense, you're also very open. So you're an open book. You're not trying to hide anything.
Exactly. Somebody wanted to post somebody accused me of posting John Foss's address. John Foss was a.k.a. Jack Barnes of Facebook Find Bigfoot. People wanted to blame me for, well, you exposed them. Well, on September 1st, 2012, before I even mentioned John Foss's name on my blog, it was posted in a comment for all to see on the Bigfoot Evidence blog, along with Jim Larananga, who went under his real name on a couple of Bigfoot shows and on Coast to Coast AM, where he was talking about government weather control. So, these people can play, they want to be coy and they want to say, oh, well, I'm anonymous. They only want to be anonymous in certain aspects. Okay? That's not fair. Where's the accountability? Again, if you're building up a dossier and you're looking at it from an investigator's point of view, these are the people making the claims. People can find out stuff about me, sure, big deal.
Why don't you write a book about this? Book number 3. The autobiography, the unofficial autobiography of Rick Dyer, as told by the Squatch Detective.
No, like I said, that stuff is not necessarily valuable. Like a birth certificate, the reason why the birth certificate was important was to get his girlfriend's name. And the reason why is a lot of the things that he was doing was in his girlfriend's name.
So he dragged her into this, and she became a part of it.
Well, his phones, come back to his girlfriend.
Well, how many phone numbers?
We kept asking questions. If he's married to Lily Dyer, who's this woman? Well, then all of a sudden we see the photo bucket page. Now it makes all the sense. He's lying about his wife. He's lying that that's her name. He's lying that he is his wife. That's the level of lies that he tells about everything.
No,
right?
I hate to be devil's advocate. Do not think I'm defending him. Please
No.
Please don't. He is the last person I would ever defend.
Sure.
Okay. Don't you think he's creating these lies to try and protect him from people like you?
Yes and no.
I mean, I'd be scared if I had Steve Coles on my ass. Well, maybe not, but you know what I mean.
You're making him blush, Rick.
Hey, baby. Your face is awfully turning red. Look at that. No, seriously, if Steve Coles had a hard-on for Rictor, I would be scared. I'd be, oh shit, Tammy, what am I gonna do?
Not really, because it's kind of funny. People want to claim that there was things unethical. Find anything unethical on any of the blogs that I've written about Rick Dyer. I don't expose where he lived. I don't expose. Necessarily, okay, he's in Las Vegas, but I don't put his address out there for all to see. Neither did I put John Foss's out there, too, which I was blamed for being part of. But the funny thing was, is as I was getting to that point, was that another website, a guy who actually who went around with Foss and Larananga for one of their Bigfoot expeditions before this all took place, had no problem posting pictures of Foss's house and inside of his house and and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like very hypocritical that anybody would get pissed off over that, but I didn't do it to begin with. So anyway, you know, there's one thing. If you find information, it's how you use that information. It's the ethics behind that. I have a very high ethical guard. Like, I wouldn't put the kid's name out there, when their date of birth is, or anything like that.
In your defense, you're having to deal with somebody that has no ethics, that has no moral character or integrity, who would go after you, if not more so.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? The funny thing is...
Because, Mr. Coles, you are a threat to their income.
In Dyer's case, I'm a threat to a lot more than his income. I'm a threat to his ego. You have to remember, a person like Dyer, his ego is his top motive, not the income.
You know, I've seen pictures of him in his underwear. There's no reason for that man to have any ego whatsoever.
You know, that picture came in the same photo bucket account with that.
Yeah. Tammy's all smiles. Look at Tammy.
It just baffles me. Yeah, and I just posted over in the group chat on our Hangout window here an old saying. The old saying is that in the law, that if you have law on your side, argue the law. If you have facts on your side, argue the facts. And if you have neither, pound the table. There's a whole lot of table pounding going on in Bigfooting. Have you noticed that?
Well, you can always, you know, Steve made a great point earlier, is that there's a commonality about it, and that is that if you disagree with what they say, they're very quick to bring out the term hater. That's a Rick Dyer term, hater. Now the standing people that are following him,
Standlings.
Yes, we must call them standlings.
They've been named.
Standlings.
Yes.
Now they're coming out with the term hater. No, there's no hate about it. These are just the facts. In fact, you know, Todd Standing, you know, I know his sister's name. I know his other sister's name. I know his mother's name. I've seen all their Facebook. You're not going to see that level on the website because there's no need for it. A person like Rick Dyer, you need to keep on his toes because he's always on the attack. And it's just different strategies. And frankly, Todd is acting like a gentleman. You know, Biscardi's the same way. You know, he's not going to attack necessarily your family or anything like that. So even there's always been, between the hoaxers and the people that debunk them, there's always been kind of a gentleman's rule that you don't sit there and go personal. You try to debate it.
So, Steve.
But lately, with Linda Newton-Perry, with Rick Dyer, you're seeing kind of a new breed. And some of the cronies that follow them, you see this, they want to get personal real fast. And that was never happening beforehand.
So why do you think that somebody with the reputation on television as honest and his approach to filming himself in survival situations, why would Les Stroud buy into what Todd Standing is telling him is real, and that we all, I think, can agree is not real? It's pretend.
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, they're both Canadians. Second of all,
that's not the first time that's come up.
So you're saying it's the good old boy network. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Well, let's look at the facts. Adrian Erickson buddied up to Randy Brisson, buddied up to even Todd Standing. Okay, it's a good old boy network in Canada. The big Bigfoot researchers in Canada are few and far between. No offense to I think Tom Steenberg, who's a Canadian, or John Green, but you know, it's kind of that commonality they're trying to use it. And you know, Canadians are polite. That's why we're getting the Canadian treatment from Todd Standing. He's not lashing out. That's Canadians. They're very polite. But I know,
with an undertone of deception.
Yeah, well, exactly. and you know, the thing is that we have the squeaky pancake video. Is anybody buying that thing?
No.
Well, Adrian Erickson seems to be buying that. And the whole Carter farm. A lot of people don't know that the Erickson Project spent a lot of time on the Carter farm. Okay? Again, so, you know, then we have the Ketchum study.
Oh, we won't even go there. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on.
So we see all these things that are supposed to be big and coming to fruition, and they all turn out to be crap. Well, why is that? Now people get pissed and angry at me, saying, "Well, how can you say the Melba Ketchum project is crap?" Because it doesn't do what it originally set out to do. That's why. They're the ones who set the bar back after it.
So is there sociopath tendencies there too? Because I'm wanting to know what's up with her latest profile picture myself.
Jeez almighty.
I think a little bit of vanity there. And
I think she's just having fun with an app, is what it is. It's an iPhone app. You can make yourself look pretty. It's a makeover thing.
But there's no doubt. There's no doubt, Rictor, that there's a bit of vanity going on with Dr. Ketchum and a little bit of arrogance going on with Dr. Ketchum. We know that from the Smedja Ketchum fallout, and there's been a few other people that have had fallings out with Melba as well. So she can get her claws out very quickly as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've invited her on the show, but she's never replied.
Of course not. Of course not, because you can't stand up against tough questions. Why do you think it's so hard to nail down Biscardi? Ask Biscardi a tough question. He won't answer them. In fact, the guy who did Anatomy of a Bigfoot Hoax called me, and I called him the day I was in Georgia with the freezer receipt in my hand.
Show it again. Show that freezer receipt. Show that freezer receipt.
That was a prop.
Oh!
I thought it was real.
I thought it was real too.
Hoaxer.
If 2 calls just hoaxing.
The freezer receipt. Hold on a second. Hold on. I will show you something. This is why this is the first time this has ever been done.
Groundbreaking.
Lots of firsts.
It's the entire file of the Biscardi investigation, the Rick Dyer investigation. It includes 85 pages of police report. Okay, so it's no joke.
That's legit.
So you are writing a book. Do not lie.
And you understand that this is my 50 large work file.
Okay.
Okay. This is all the evidence that came out. And
okay, so that's what you use for 50 large.
Right.
Oh, I'm thinking that maybe you could use that for another book. Okay,
You
so
could
that's
do a trilogy out of that other file, dude.
Oh, there. Oh, here it is. See, there's the freezer receipt right there.
Wow.
Okay, there's the freezer receipt right there. Okay, you know who handed that to me? Rick Dyer, because he took me to the store that he bought it at, went up and said, I need a copy of a receipt I had bought. We had gotten the date. They printed it off. He handed it right to me. See? That's the only time I met Rick Dyer in person. But the fact is being there, I got what I needed. And that freezer receipt proved that Tom Biscardi knew very well what was in that freezer. Because it was bought the night he flew in.
Dr. Meldrum said that hopefully the discovery of Bigfoot would unfold in such a carnival atmosphere and the proper authorities and scientists would have been involved. So my question is, what if Dr. Meldrum was approached first by the 2 Georgia boys, Rick Dyer and Matt Whitten? What would he say? The evidence is compelling and requires further study. Or would he say, due to the NDA, I cannot talk about it? You know, it makes you wonder. Would he call it like it is and say it is suspect and questionable? Or go along with the ride because he was first to be called? He's now joined up with Todd Standing and isn't buying into everything Todd Standing is presenting, but yet he's still in Todd Standing's corner. I wonder if Rick Dyer and Matt had contacted Dr. Meldrum and Bindernagel, what their approach would have been back then. Would it be what we're getting right now with Todd Standing, since we all believe Todd Standing is a hoaxer, and we know that Rick Dyer is a hoaxer? Is he a victim? Is he like all of us that were, all excited? Oh my gosh, Dr. Ketchum DNA study. Oh my gosh, Dr. Ketchum's going to prove Bigfoot's real once and for all. Is he, like part of that camp? Look at Derek Randall's Derek Randles was sold on Hank possibly being real. He was even going to go to Las Vegas if Rick Dyer paid for his plane ticket. I know this for a fact. You know, so Derek Randles, being a highly respected and admired Bigfoot researcher, was being coerced by Rick Dyer. So these men, though we put on high pedestals, are, what's the word, Tammy? Valuable?
Yes.
If you want, I'll put this statement out there. Okay. Is that the way I look at it is that right now Dr. Meldrum's being really cool about the whole thing. He's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but he's saying, well, you know, I had a visceral reaction to seeing it, but you know, what he means by visceral basically is that's his opinion right now. It's like a gut reaction. It's like an instantaneous, okay, that's my first flashing. He says he doesn't believe what Todd says completely. He needs to examine it. So the way I look at it is this. If Derek Randles was given a plane ticket months ago to go see Hank, he would have exposed it then. I think if Meldrum...
Greg Wool-Eater, motherfucker, saw Hank! And look what he said. You know what I mean? I mean, well, come on!
Okay. Behind glass, I know, there are people that...
And I wasn't calling you motherfucker. I'm just saying. Ah! And look at the flack he got for that.
I know. Well, the way I look at it is this. We all have to do what we have to do. We all think, you know, when I went out, I mean, you realize the criticism I got in 2008 when I went out to the safe house. You know what? Sometimes you got to go against the grain to get what happened out there. And you know what? Had I not gone there, what would have happened? You would have been all watching, instead of Anatomy of a Bigfoot hoax that Biscardi's got for sale, you would have been seeing Anatomy of a Bigfoot. I can rest assured of that. Okay? He wanted everybody there to sign non-disclosure agreements. I wouldn't. I said, no way. I'm not covering a hoax up with a hoax. And Biscardi, at that point, changed his tune. From that point on, I heard very little from Biscardi after that. He was all... Because when we told him it was a hoax, he was very calm about it. He didn't sound like a guy who just given $50,000 away for a real Bigfoot. He sounded like a guy with the plan.
What are your thoughts on these men that we put on pedestals, Tammy, with the hearts of young boys? Because we all have hearts of young boys. We're just like, oh my gosh. I don't. But you know what I mean. Look how excited we were originally with Dr. Ketchum. You know, I mean, these people who put their careers on the line are just as fascinated about Bigfoot as we are. They love it even more so, that they dedicate their whole scientific career to it. So imagine taking it to that next level, and you've got someone like Todd Standing who's making your, like Steve Coles just said, your gut reaction, ooh, what's that? And then, but he also mentioned that Dr. Meldrum's playing it cool, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. What did you say?
Yep.
Yes.
I got it right?
Hey!
I cannot... Okay, Steve, I cannot do idioms to save my life.
Yeah,
oh, it's horrible. Job. It's horrible. Oh, my God, it's so bad. It's like
that's a good one, the baby in the bathwater.
I am retarded when it comes to idioms. I am really retarded. That's why I always ask Tammy, did I say it right?
So, yes, I agree that we... just like us, they are serious about really wanting something definitive. Wanting something definitive so that we have something to protect. I mean, we all can agree that if there's a new primate discovered in North America, yes, we want it protected. We want it to go on. And we want it to be safe from, you know, hunting and...
But I want Bindernagel and Dr. Meldrum to be safe from people like Todd Standing. When Sharon Lee was calling Dr. Meldrum a whore, oh no, you will not be calling my Dr. Jeff Meldrum a whore, you... I just saved myself some serious editing. You will not do that. He is a respected peer in Bigfooting. We look to him.
But you know what? I wonder how many people now see him in support of Standing and see him on a show with Standing and doing a show with Standing go, was Sharon Lee onto something when she said that? Now, I don't think that. I consider Jeff a friend. But I'm just saying...
And you're just as you're protective of him.
Well, I am, and the fact that, you know, I don't think we don't know the entire story, what's going on in that coconut of his, and he's very selective of what he lets out publicly. Very cautious man.
Well, he's also very smart, and he knows how to word things in a way that he could be putting you down, and you don't even know it.
Oh no, I know it.
Okay, Phil Poling, Para Breakdown, did the recent photo dissolve of the CGI. I think it's a CGI image of a Bigfoot, and it's really Todd Standing's face. I shared it with Dr. Meldrum, and I have yet to hear what Dr. Meldrum has to say, or has anything to say in regards to this diatribe, unquote, of subject matter that we think is pertinent. If someone is producing Bigfoot evidence that we are questioning, we need to talk about it. We need to look at it and not just throw the baby out with the water.
Bathwater.
Okay, see? Yeah. So...
Google that, Rick. You'll enjoy the story on how that saying came about.
You know, I mean, when it's looking at you in the face, people, I mean, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Yet some people are turning the blind eye because they wanted to believe it to be real so bad. And I feel like a jerk for, you know, busting their bubble, for question authority. I'm not out to get Todd Standing just because I'm a bad guy or I'm a jerk. I'm a bitch. Question authority. But don't take down people that, you know, are highly regarded and respected, especially if you're a hoaxer and you're going to, you know, potentially harm their reputation and careers just because you want to make a quick buck. I think that's what's wrong about Todd Standing, and that's why I think Todd is worse than Rick Dyer, is because he's possibly going to ruin these two gentlemen's standing in the community. Bindernagel and Meldrum. Those are the two big shots. And then we have Dr. Dissatel, who's probably like on the lower level underneath them. I mean, who else is there that we can go to in regards to Dr. Sykes? Who's, you know, I mean, these are our Bigfoot gods. And now a hoaxer, who I think is a hoaxer, is now reeling them in. And you said, Steve Coles, that Dr. Meldrum's playing it cool.
Unless, Rick, it's like I said, that, you know, the one term that's been used is that they're looking at the big picture. And my interpretation of the big picture is not the Bigfoot community, not the people that are going to scrutinize their evidence, or the coalition between these people that we respect in the Bigfoot community and someone who we feel like is a hoaxer, or someone who is an established celebrity, survivor man, Les Stroud. But the big picture is the general public. That's who is being targeted here. That's where Finding Bigfoot gets the majority of its audience. All of these Bigfoot shows on television, they're going to the general public, people that really aren't interested in dissecting the Bigfoot phenomenon like we are, and trying to prove something definitive. They're all about the mystery and the entertainment aspect of it. And, ooh, that's neat, let's watch, that show's really entertaining and fun to watch, but not really interested in the science of it all.
Right, you got to say, though, Mr. Coles, that in the Survivor Man Bigfoot shows, there was no scientific method being applied at all.
Didn't watch it. Let me just put Standing aside for a second. And there's a reason why that Biscardi has really gotten under my thumb, is that I'm going to show you something else that I haven't shown too many people before, and that's this right here.
What is that?
This is actually a copy of a document of, if you can see that, it says Searching for Bigfoot Incorporated Investor and Joint Venture Investment Information. And what this does is list all the investors are searching for Bigfoot and the amounts. And I'm going to just show you the amounts real quick. There they all are. And yes, there's one for $200,000. There's one for $50,000. There's one for $30,000. I've added it up, and it comes out to this amount right here, $723,000. And that was between 2006, January 9th of 2006, and October 20th of 2007. That's when I left the team.
Damn.
Okay, $723,000. So I had this in my possession for a long, long time. And then the other thing, and mind you, how I got this was a little bit unscrupulous, but that's what an investigator does sometimes. Is, oh, what's on this flash drive? Oh my gosh, it's the Holy Grail. Then what I got from Dyer is something that, even though I had infiltrated the team for a while, been on a few expeditions with Biscardi, or Biscardi's team. Biscardi actually spent very little. Like I said, that's how I knew that the only time you see Biscardi in the field is when he's expecting press. But Mr. Dyer, and you want to see the level of commitment that Biscardi had to Mr. Dyer back in 2008, before I made it all fall apart, was that Mr. Dyer handed me a document that I had only seen in passing, but I was never allowed to look at, and there was good reason why. And that's this document right here. And that is the Searching for Bigfoot business plan.
A business plan.
2008. And
it's
in
all
it,
about money.
Oh, yeah, it is all about the money.
And
Okay.
something such as a hookup with a successful television personality would put you in a position to perhaps get more investors for what you're doing?
Very good question.
No, not really. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Exposure. Exposure is everything.
Money doesn't come flying in because you're on TV. Au contraire. Because people figure if you're on TV, you got your own sources of money.
Is that true, Rictor?
At least $10 million.
Well, I agree. That's a fallacy because I've done several shows myself.
Mm-hmm.
But people believe that, you know, these fallacies that because you're on a TV show you make oodles of money, or you make a lot of money doing stuff, or, you know, crazy stuff like, well, you just drive hits to your website to make money. Like, hits on my website automatically puts money in my pocket. I remember that was the big accusation back in 2008. Well, Mr. Coles, the only reason why you got involved in this was so you can get a lot of hits to your website to make money. Well, that's funny. I didn't make a dime off that damn thing until I wrote a book about it, and that was my blood, sweat, and tears, and that I used to write that book. So, and if you don't, and I'm not forcing anybody to buy it, but the bottom line is that, like, you have a personality like Biscardi, it's all about the money. That was $723,000. That was up until December of 2007. Now, that was how many years ago? Almost 7 years ago, 6 years ago? So he still got his money supply somewhere. So I don't think the money train is there where it was. But if you look at a person like Bill Lett, who's invested a lot of money into it, who ended up giving him an extra $50,000 on a promissory note, mind you, according to him, and that's another interesting thing. There was another reason why Mr. Biscardi is completely involved in this is because Mr. Biscardi, despite having the most interaction with Dyer and Witten, when it came to writing a statement for the police department, he wrote nothing, not a thing. So that, my friends, tells me right there. He had his vice president, who never even met the guys, write a statement. He had his son write a statement, who never even met these guys. He had Bill Lett write a statement, who met the guys when he handed him the money, and that was it. Nothing was said about what happened in his prior 2 trips to Atlanta to meet Dyer and Witten, so you tell me who's involved there. Simple as that. But the one thing we got to understand is that we talk about Dr. Meldrum and Todd Standing, but we also have people, if we recall, let's kick back the clock a little bit. We have an anthropology professor by the name of Dr. Warren L. Cook who passed away in 1989. He was from Castleton State College in Vermont. He was a Pulitzer Prize nominated anthropologist. In other words, he wrote a book that was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. He believed in Ivan Marx's films. Did it ruin his reputation? No. Because he's a professor, because he's a doctor, because of all that. You know. When
So
he wrote,
Dr. Meldrum and Dr. Bendernagel have the shield of being a doctor to protect them from having their...
I believe that. I believe that's a big part of it.
And they could always be like, oops, my bad. I didn't see the whole evidence.
Well, what Warren L. Cook said about the Ivan Marks films was it does not conform. You know, the films don't conform to what one would think a Sasquatch would look like. But knowing Peggy and Ivan, as well as I have, having spent some time with them, they seem a very high character. People don't understand that the con artist, what a con means is confidence. Is that these people gain your confidence. That's how they scam you, by gaining your confidence. That's what a con artist is.
So this is going to take a lot longer to finally unravel.
Absolutely. The other thing is that Dr. Warren L. Cook wasn't the only doctor that was taken by Ivan Marks. You know, Dr. Meldrum, I believe, was taken by Ivan Marks as a surrogate of Dr. Grover Krantz, because Dr. Grover Krantz always brought out the Bossberg Cripplefoot. Who found the Bossberg Cripplefoot? Ivan Marks. So, once a hoaxer, always a hoaxer. Next week, in part 2, I'll be talking about my views on Sasquatch and the Bigfoot research community.
Well, okay. Well, on that note, that is the end of this After Hours with Rictor. Thank you very much, Tammy Murray and Steve Alcorn, for joining in on this discussion with the amazing, informative, and revealing Squatch detective, Steve Coles.
Well, thank you, Rictor. Thanks for having me on. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, it was good to talk to you again, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Amen.
Hey, Tammy, tell me about that cool knife you just got.
Well, I got this from my friend on Facebook, Jake Kirks. I don't know if you can see this, but it's the PB&J main course. Look at that, carbon steel blade.
Now, is that what you would use to stick a knife into someone's head if they were going to become a zombie?
Exactly. Anyway, thank you, Jake. I love my knife, and I hope you're enjoying your Bigfoot pendants. SweetSassyGlassy.com is where you can get Bigfoot pendants. I'm going to be sending one to Steve Coles.
What color do you want, Steve?
Got one in blue? No, brown. Brown?
Yeah, I'll send you some. We'll do some Facebook private messaging.
All right.
And I'll send you some pictures, and you can decide, okay? I'll have to look and see what I've got.